All right, off and rolling on a Thursday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Hope you're having a fantastic start to your morning. We're happy to have you guys here for the next 3 hours. We got a lot to do, bud. Lucas Panzica's back there making it go. What's on the show today? You want to tell people?
Jeffrey Simmons coming up at 11:15. Josh Black is going to join us in studio at 10:20. Johnny Glennon's going to join us in a matter of moments. We have Greg Cosell analysis, and we have a look in the rear view to the last time Tennessee was in Baton Rouge. I'm okay if we scrap that part.
Okay. I'll make a note of that for later on. Yeah, a lot of ground to cover. Jeff's going to be here at 11:15, and we'll get you some Cosell stuff a little later on. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation at any point today. Now, about a week ago, we put out a poll on Twitter. Do you want us to talk about the A.J. Brown thing again? Now, resoundingly, the results were no. Enough of this guy. Don't want to hear any more about it. The Titans and Eagles will play, I believe, December 13th. And then it'll be a part of the conversation, a part of the news cycle again. But in the meantime, get out of here. So for whatever reason, it takes about a week for this stuff to bubble back up and for Titans players to start to be asked about it. And in the locker room settings about this thing, this interview that AJ did on a podcast called The Crew. If you're familiar, NFL reporter Josina Anderson does a really, really good job. With her work, she hosts this podcast, and she regularly gets some of the biggest names in the NFL on. And AJ's in there doing a Zoom interview. I think it's right around Thursday Night Football last week. And he was talking about Mike Vrabel. Well, he was asked to compare his current situation with Philadelphia to what he previously experienced with Mike Vrabel. And his response was, yeah, it's not a lot of fun over there. It's all serious all the time, lock in, all these different things. The things that you would typically associate with an NFL coach. And so players start to be asked about this, and John Glennon of Sports Illustrated wrote about this, because I know Johnny was in there asking a couple of people, as was the subject of conversation. Johnny, why is A.J. Brown now taking shots at Mike Vrabel after seeming to enjoy, like, riling Titans Twitter up from time to time?
This is a good question, Buck. Yeah, I'm a little confused by this as well. When I heard the comments initially, it just struck me as a little bit unnecessary. And again, as you mentioned, this isn't the first time that A.J. Brown seems to kind of feel this need to sort of needle, whether it's the coach, the organization, the fan base, seems to kind of jab that needle in there from time to time. And you wonder, okay, this is a guy who has got what he wanted. He wanted a trade. He got the trade. He's playing with his good friend in Philadelphia. He has a $100 million contract, and things are going well. What's the need to kind of take what seems to me an unnecessary jab, back in the organization? And just if I can go on just a little here, it kind of struck me a little bit as kind of ungrateful is one word that comes to mind. And everybody's got their opinion. I respect AJ's opinion, but here's a guy who the coach and the system seemed to work pretty well for AJ Brown while he was with the Titans. He put up big numbers here, and the team did well. The playoffs all three straight years, and that relationship between coach and player seemed to be a good one from what we heard from both sides. So it just, again, getting back to that comment, just seemed kind of come out of nowhere, and it was like, really? That's kind of the first thing that comes to mind when you're asked to compare the two organizations.
Quote, Vrabel, I got a lot of respect for him, but he's the Belichick way. Everything is lock in, no fun over there. You're going to get the job done. But over here, Sirianni is just letting us have fun, do what we do, let us express our personality. I think that's huge. You want somebody to express themselves and be themselves. What was A.J. Brown, if not entirely himself, during Johnny, you and I have covered him in almost his entire career, absent this Philadelphia stint that he's now on. Like, did A.J. ever strike you as repressed at any moment?
that is not a word that came to mind when talking about A.J. Brown. And, in that light, I feel myself, I want to attend some Eagles practices, or, I want to get in the Eagles locker room now or watch what they do in pregame, that they have this incredible self-expression and fun times and so forth. That
seems lovely.
A.J. Brown was missing here in Nashville. And, it's just kind of an odd take to me, and it doesn't seem to be real representative either, I don't feel like, because, if things were so awful, in terms of no fun and no expression here, it seems to me that by now enough players would have left the Titans and talked about that, that we would have a better idea that, there are some rough conditions playing under Mike Vrabel. But if anything, I feel like it's the opposite. I think he's gotten the reputation of a player's coach, a guy who sort of leans into giving players time for injuries, that type of thing. Robert Woods, I used the example in my article today. Robert Woods essentially got to almost pick where he got traded in the offseason because the Rams liked the guy so much. And where does he want to wind up? He wanted to be in Tennessee with the Titans under Mike Vrabel because of the reputation that this culture had and this coaching staff had. So I think, to me, you see more of that than you do of this kind of random, no fun. Everything is locked in and so forth. That again, just AJ, where are you coming from and why the need there?
John Glennon, Sports Illustrated, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. You bring up Robert Woods. Lucas has the audio. Let's go ahead and hear from the new Titans receiver.
Robert, I guess A.J. Brown did an interview last week where he talked about how, serious things were in Tennessee under Coach Vrabel, and there wasn't a lot of room for fun. This is your third NFL team. Is it really any different, or are things more serious here?
Yeah, I would say every coach and team has their own style, has their philosophy. And I would say, Tennessee, it's serious. And that's, you want guys in a team that takes winning serious. And I think that's just how it is at practice and at work in the workplace. You got to come in and work with a purpose. Whether it's weight room, film, it is like, know your job, know your assignment. And, really, I think once you do that and know your assignment, know what you're doing, when you go out there on Sundays, and that's when you're able to play fun, have fun, play fast, and then play loose. Sundays are our day. Obviously, throughout the week, it's the working week. But go out there on Sundays, you make plays, you win games. That's when the fun comes in.
Johnny, is an NFL workplace supposed to be like a whole lot of fun? Because, you and I have worked around Vrabel for plenty of time now, going into 5 years. And, whatever it is, however he handles himself and however he deals with the players, there's a time for fun, but it's not necessarily during the day-to-day drudgery when you need to be that kind of buttoned up to make sure you don't lose to the damn Washington Commanders.
I think you're exactly right. And, I thought Robert Woods' comments were strong in that regard. And then I also, I talked to Jeffrey Simmons yesterday, and now Jeffrey has not been with another team, obviously, but at the same time, he seemed kind of irked at A.J. Brown's comments too, because what Jeffrey Simmons said, is that in his mind, Mike Vrabel acted exactly the way a coach is supposed to be acting. He said, when you win, you have your fun, and I've joked around with Braves in the locker room, on the field or whatever. When you lose, that's when things tighten up, and he said that's what you appreciate, because in Jeffrey Simmons' words, things aren't supposed to be holly jolly, when you're losing games. So I think there's plenty of players that appreciate that kind of a strict approach to things and a business relationship. And again, I find myself wondering, what's going on in Philly? What kind of games are they playing during practice? What kind of express your feelings gatherings are they holding and feeling that we're missing out on, that maybe they've cornered the market on? Maybe that's the reason that they're 4-0 this year. We'll have to see, but I'm also curious to see what happens after a few Philly losses. if everything will be fun and games as well.
I picture the parachute game that you play when you're in like second grade in gym class, where the thing goes up and everybody runs under it and everybody runs back out afterwards. Like that's what must be going on at this place.
They're playing Jenga between reps.
At Glennon Sports is where you can follow him on Twitter. Go read the article at SI.com. Well worth your time. Thank you, Johnny.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That's John Glennon. So, I mean, there's a lot of different layers of this stuff. We can move on after this. But since the players were asked about it yesterday, and they seem to like, get out of here with this kind of stuff. I thought it was worth getting into. And Johnny's right. Like, I mean, Wesley Woodyard is one that comes to mind. He brought up like not a lot of bad feedback about Vrabel coming out of former players, right? And Woodyard does not seem to appreciate how his experience with Mike ended on the whole. I'm sure you could find some other feedback elsewhere.
Yeah, Dory Jackson, has said things in a similar vein, but that's probably more of just a personal man-to-man type of issue.
Sure, and, he doesn't strike me as the easiest person to work with. I know for a fact that a couple of coaches have been, it is the constant bristling of what Mike is on a day-to-day basis. It can wear you down in certain elements. But, on the whole, I mean, this guy was talking about suicide, AJ. And they did nothing but try and get him the help that he needed. The quote in here from Johnny that kind of, blows the door off this thing is after that came out on I believe it was a TikTok from AJ about the mental health struggles that he was dealing with. Of course you want to be, cognizant of that. What he had to say about Vrabel after the fact was pretty glowing, like to the effect of that guy's going to be my friend for as long as, we're alive because of the things that he did to me. I'm paraphrasing there, or did for me. Basically, because at that point, AJ really needed somebody, and Mike is there to support these guys, even if he can be, a little Vrabelish. Anyway, Josh Black is going to be in studio. We'll lighten up the proceedings and talk about this incredible festival that's coming to North Nashville that I'm going to be a part of, and Josh is rolling the dice in a big way. Big gamble by him by making me a part of the proceedings. We'll tell you what's going on coming up next.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
All right, it's always a great pleasure when we can bring one of Nashville's finest in the studio, Josh Black.
Woohoo!
Sir Joshua Black.
I'm
on
back, baby.
Twitter and Instagram. How we living, brother?
I'm feeling excellent. I'm in the building. I'm feeling good. It's fall. I think this might be my first time in the fall here.
Are you tracking it by season?
Yeah, I track it by season,
Well,
man.
so what are you alleging? We bring you in during the summertime when there's no sports?
Yeah, you know what? Wow, I'm just not realizing that. It's a conspiracy. We bring them in when it's slow. I'm in the heat of the season now, baby.
The man works in mysterious ways.
That's it. How y'all doing, man?
Man, we're living. I'm fired up about this. So it's rare that somebody can get me to do something on my week off.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
the bye week is a sacred time.
Yes.
In the sports world.
Yes.
And when I got this text from you about Vibes Fest, which we're going to talk about today, it wasn't even a question. I'm in. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what all it's going to be involved, but I'm in because I know that whatever you do, you're going to do it 1,010%, go above and beyond to make sure that the environment is an incredible one for whomever you're trying to entertain.
That's facts.
So why don't you tell people about what's going on?
People, the Good Vibes Festival. That's vibes with a Z. You got some juice on it, Lucas. It's a Good Vibes with a Z. It's a art, music, and comedy festival. It's going to be in North Nashville, where I'm from, where Buck lives.
That's right.
Damn, maybe that was too much. I'm going to give the address later.
You know what? That's we've talked about that before.
Have you? Okay,
because
cool.
Because of the tornado, we used.
That's right.
I was fortunate to the radio station to allow me to help recruit people to come to North Nashville and help clean up.
Nice.
So
nice.
I think that's documented. We don't have to tell people where.
No,
Narrow it down. Give a street.
Don't sell me out this way. Luke has been trying to get me killed for years.
I'm gonna tweet the address later.
I'm gonna have
Joshua Black.
I'm gonna have a bad Ryan Tannehill take. Somebody's gonna show up at my doorstep.
What was that about, T-Rack? All right, so Good Vibes Festival. It's an art, music, and comedy festival. There's so much going on, man. We have Buck Rising. He's going to be a special guest DJ. This is going to be hilarious.
It's certainly a choice.
Yes. So we're bringing in the local celebs. So we got the owner of Daddy Dogs DJing.
Yeah.
We got the owner of Slim and Husky DJing.
Yeah.
We have Odessa Kelly. She's running for Congress. She's DJing. And then we have Buck Rising. You know, I'm rooting for you, bro. Out of all those four.
What are you trying to do here?
No. I got, it's funny because I was like, can you do this? He was like, hell yeah, I'm in. And then yesterday or 2 days ago, I was like, hey, Buck, send me your playlist. He said, hold on, I'm DJing? What did you agree to?
Listen, I love music.
Yes.
I love when people enjoy music.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the worst parts of my musical taste are about to be exposed.
I like that.
By the people in my neighborhood who, may or may not. How well do you think a little bit of ABBA is going to be received at Good Vibes Fest?
I do have a question about this for
All
Josh.
right, let's go.
Why?
Why? All right, listen. Lucas.
I too have that question.
First of all, the man wears headphones for a living.
Well,
see? He's used to a mixing board. He's racially ambiguous.
it's true.
You see, and so he could go in a lot of pockets. See, me, you just assume I'm going to do rap.
I'm not racially ambiguous at the airport. That's the one place that they're very, very quick to document what exactly race I am.
You did come in with a turban that time, so you can't blame him.
Well, listen, one euro and everybody freaks out.
So why? First of all, we need local celebs. I couldn't get T-Rack on the phone for this. I didn't trust his taste.
Man, T-Rack gets down, though.
T-Rack, he knows how to dance, but can he pick the tunes?
T-Rack was number one.
T-Rack was number one. That's my guy. The Prez mascot, I really couldn't trust him because I've never been to a Prez game and they played that slap. Soccer Moses, I asked him, but he was, he's going to be in Deuteronomy that week or something, so he couldn't come out.
He deep in the books.
Yeah, he was deep, bro.
Now, wait a minute. He seems perfect for this because my man shreds.
He can shred.
Yeah, he does. He does. That's right.
So, Lucas,
he could have been live.
Document for people what Soccer Moses, for those who are unfamiliar with the Nashville SC game day environment.
Yeah, you see him at the games. He's dressed up like Moses, the beard and everything. He has the banner that he holds up that says, "Let my people go." And beautiful. I didn't realize he was a musician. He's a really nice guy, by the way. I didn't realize he was a musician, but they let him do the pregame guitar riff leading up to kickoff last season at Nissan Stadium, and he crushed it.
Melted my face off in the stands.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, Soccer Moses is a legend.
So I made it like fifth on the world of sports people. Not even like good sports people, like sports people who are kind of accessible. You know?
But the thing is, he has 15 minutes. He's doing a guest DJ spot. 15 minutes is a long time, man. You know, I do comedy. 5 minutes is a long time.
It's a long time.
15 minutes, but technically that's about 12 good songs if you skip through. I'm interested in the genre and the placement. I talked to Daddy Dog. I'm not going to give too much of his set away, but he's already throwing in a Sweet Caroline, so that's taken.
Okay. Well, so the Caucasian contingent has been satisfied.
Yeah, there's been a flag placed in the ground.
Sweet Caroline.
The Caucasian flag has been set, so you can't claim that, you know.
But see, this is the beauty of what Good Vibes Fest is going to be.
Yes.
It's not, you know, I think people in Nashville, as far as the neighborhoods are concerned, it gets very cliquish.
Yeah.
It would seem to me. Now there are certain places that get swamped with more tourists than others during the weekend, although the Bachelorettes, Josh.
Yeah.
In North Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell happened?
You got to respect
You
that.
were worried about me taking in stray cats. You know, Heather, Sharon, and Karen are running around out there at an Airbnb.
At the corner store. I thought, hold on, what's Mary Kate doing here?
They're in line of Minerva. I'm like, it's two Americas. Like, I'm confused.
Yeah, I saw Mary Ashley getting the E&J. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. But I had to respect it. So what I want the Good Vibes Fest to be is what Tomatoes Arts Fest is to East Nashville, what Oktoberfest is to Germantown. It's going to have an art exhibit in the Elephant Gallery on Buchanan. We're going to have live music. Of course, we got Buck Rising. We also have musical performances, the Black Opera. So we're going to have country music. We're going to have hip-hop. We're going to have R&B. We're going to have pop. But the question is, Buck, I want to know the mindset going into the game.
Yeah.
So you're going in, you're coming out the locker room. They say, Buck Rising. I'm going to have your presets already. DJ Buck. You know what I mean? DJ B Nasty. However you want it sliced, we're going to have it there for you.
I mean, listen, I'm watching like YouTube videos of what Shaq looks like when he's down there at Live. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I like that.
What's
bro.
the appropriate amount of bounce to where I don't look like I completely lack rhythm, which I obviously do. But we're just, there's going to be a strategy.
Yeah.
There is going to be a choreographed part of this to make sure that I'm protecting myself, which will also lead to just clear and obvious embarrassment because this thing is free.
It's free
for people
admission.
to attend.
We're going to have food trucks, delicious food trucks. We're going to have vendors all over the place. We're going to have pumpkin painting for the kids, free haircuts. We're going to have free haircuts. So if you need a haircut, Lucas, come holler at your boy. I won't be cutting you.
Desperately needs one.
Yeah, come on, son.
Perpetually.
Now, me too. That's why I got this hat on. It looks crazy, but I'm covering it, Lucas. It's about respect for the game, but
he's got the Lego hair. It's just kind of like slapped on there. It's secured.
How often do you get your hair cut, Lucas? Like, I've never known how the whites cut their hair. That's what I need to know.
I'll cut it, and then I won't cut it for like 3 months because I just don't want to deal with it.
Oh.
Yeah, like Buck gets it cut every 2 days.
Well, I have gone twice in 1 week a couple of times, but my barber I've had for 7 years, and way out in Antioch when we used to work out there. When I used to work out there, it's right next door. It was definitely an open the door and people looking around at you like, what the hell are you doing in here? I was like, I just want to cut, man.
I go once a week. If I can go once a week.
Yeah.
But if I don't, I look, you don't notice why, but I just look poor. You don't know, like something about him, man. He's going through it. One time I was passing a homeless guy and I didn't have a haircut and he listened, not even a bit. He was just like, it was $1 on the ground and he was like, hey man, you dropped $1. And I'm like, you gave me the $1 back? That's how bad I look. Why don't you take that and put it in your homeless? And he thought I needed that more than he did.
Well, listen, the homeless community in North Nashville is a strong contingent.
Yes.
And savvy by the way that they have to understand how to navigate the difficulties of what that life is.
Yes.
Now, you have been out there decorating the neighborhood is not appropriate.
It's true, though.
But no, it's different because you are a legitimate artist, not just in the sense of comedy. And I know it's uncomfy to, say nice things and talk about yourself in that way, except I don't know. You got to have a pretty good ego to do stand-up comedy.
That's true.
So I'm going to assume you're good with this.
Yes.
Your artistic ability is something that it seems really feeds every other element of what it is that you do.
Yeah.
So when you're out there putting up these murals in North Nashville, which by the way are spectacular.
Thank you, man.
Before we get to, the help that you were offered by the aforementioned homeless community, what inspired you to kind of take that on upon yourself? Because you're doing this Good Vibes Fest by yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You're taking care of North Nashville and putting a focus on it that it is really, really easy for people to neglect or ignore.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind what you're trying to do with all of these different things?
Man, well, I went to Tomato Arts Fest in East Nashville. I go every year, and I went this year allegedly on mushrooms, and it just felt good.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that's not for sure. You can't prove that, but it just felt good, and the energy was there, and it was just so cool. And East Nashville, it was like such a community activity. Then I go to Oktoberfest all the time. I went to CMH Fest on Broadway. Not the same vibe, but it was. You could tell it was community. I'm like, man, we need one of these out north. I'm like, maybe one day somebody will do it. So then once I painted my first mural, and I wanted to paint a mural where I'm from, which is North Nashville, and I painted it. It was like 3 walls. It's huge. And I loved it. I'm like, I could do an unveiling for this. And I'm like, nah, instead of doing an unveiling, let's just do maybe unveiling in music. And then it just grew into, let's do the festival that you were dreaming about somebody else doing. So now here we are. We have a mural up. We have an art show happening. We have live music. We have a comedy show from 1 to 2. We have special guest DJs with Buck Rising. It's literally,
we're trying to sell this thing, man. You got to quit telling people that I'm going to be up there embarrassing
Buck Rising
myself.
will not be there for anybody that wants to come and enjoy themselves. But yes, it's so full of. We have city council coming. They're going to do a pie bake-off. So none of them have ever baked a pie before. Okay. They're into politics, whatever. So we have them baking a pie, and the owners of Slim & Husky is going to judge it. And then Clint, he's one of the owners, he said if he doesn't like it, he's going to throw it in their face. So depending on what part of town you're on, your council member could get assaulted, but that's what we like.
Who doesn't live for a little political humiliation, especially with the midterms fast approaching?
Oh, exactly. And I want to see politicians do like regular stuff. And first of all, if I ran for office, I'm not wearing a suit, bro. So I want politicians.
You would win my
sweatpants.
vote with that alone.
Thank you.
For what?
I don't trust a man in a suit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't trust him. If I go to like parties when you're in suits, don't talk about business. I don't trust you. Put on some sweats.
It's like I told Luca. You know Jelly Roll, right?
Oh yeah.
North Nashville's finest.
Oh yeah.
Jelly was out there. He's playing a show in Buffalo a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he texted me. He goes, "Hey, I'm gonna come tailgate before the Bills game. We're bringing the tour bus." I'm like, "All right, bud."
Yeah.
So he's trying to get me to come out before the game. I can't do it because I've got a 12-hour workday ahead of me, and I know whatever is happening on Jelly Roll's tour bus is not something I want to be a part of.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Also allegedly. Because Josh, I swear to God, I text him after the game. I show up, it's like 2:30 in the morning Eastern time, and they're still out there, 10,000 strong, like raging. Okay, and I'm the only one out there with a face tat. I got my briefcase from work. I got a sport coat on, and I'm trying to get on the Jelly Roll tour bus and not look like the feds.
Yeah, right.
It was.
You're gonna do this cocaine.
It was the suit does not give off relatability.
No, that's why.
And this is what this is about. This is about community. This is about relatability.
Vibes, and I need these city council people in the neighborhood, not just when it's election season, when we're just having a good time. Come out here, bake a pie. Hopefully it's good. If it's trash, we roast you.
Yes.
We got somebody baking chili. I'm not a big stranger chili man. Like I can't
stranger chili.
Stranger, like meaning like I can't eat respectfully your eggs. If you scramble eggs and make them, I can't do that.
You consider me a stranger.
It's you're not in the home.
Okay.
It could be a cousin of mine. You're outside of the home. I just can't do it.
Is that because you don't know what products they're buying, or that's because you just don't trust their sensibilities yet?
I can't trust it, bro.
Okay.
I just can't trust. So same thing with chili, because chili's so thick, it could be a lot of things in there, bro.
You have no idea.
If it's not my mom, my grandma, my girl, I'm sorry.
You got to have a direct connection.
Yeah, or unless one of them have been with you and have stamped you. No, I can't do it, bro. So, they're doing a chili off. I won't be tasting that just because I can't trust it.
So how are you balancing this on top of everything else that you're doing? Because from what my observations of your work schedule are, Josh, like I don't know how you have time to get all these things done, because it goes beyond vendors. It goes beyond texting slaps like me to be like, hey, can you come do 15 minutes because this thing's going to be a party. Like the permits and working with the city to make sure that you can block off a street for a day. By the way, October 15th is the date.
That's it.
11 a.m. is the start.
11 a.m. to 5 p.m., baby.
11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Buchanan, right by the original Slim and Huskies.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a fantastic affair.
It's going to be huge, man.
How often, like, are you still doing stand-up while doing all of these different things? Because I see you at, like, Soho House.
Sure.
I see you at Zany's.
Sure.
I don't know how you have time to much less, keep up with all of these things.
Yeah, somehow I'm still doing comedy every night. I'm still painting.
Every night.
Oh, yeah. Got to. Got to. Doing comedy every night. I mean, I could bomb because I'm tired or because it's just not good. But I'm out there. You know
but
what I mean?
At least you have the excuse. You're like, I'm doing a lot right now.
Yeah, I got a festival coming. That's why I called you a slur. But listen, that's a joke, folks. Please don't cancel me before the fest. Do it after.
Oh, you're on the wrong radio station.
Exactly. It's too late, son. I've already sent emails. What were we saying? Oh, so I just get it done. I figure, hey, I'm 33 now. I'm not rich. And I mean, I'm not poor, but I'm in that space. I still have a job, bro.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. Jobs are cool, but I don't want one. I also have no time for one, and also I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like that's the man. One time I worked at Walmart once, and I didn't like that job either. I would just go in the bathroom in the handicap stall and just read a book or just play
Post up.
Yeah, just chill.
Yeah.
And then I would allegedly take food from the deli.
Allegedly.
Yeah, just this idea. I can't prove that, and I would just eat it. And they had like a McDonald's in the Walmart. I would just take the food, eat it over there, and just chill, just to kind of blow by time. And they were like, "Hey, man, you didn't pay for that, and we haven't seen you all day." And I'm just like, I don't want to be here.
I just at a certain point, but this is the thing. Like it is a necessary evil for a lot of people to do jobs that they don't necessarily love on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Frankly, it's essential for a lot of society. But I do think that there's a larger thing, like, because that's, this is a stupid thing that Lucas and I do for 3 hours a day. Nobody should pay us actual. I mean, I hope our bosses aren't listening because, yes, of course you should pay us money for this. But
edit that out, Luke.
It's like, no, unfortunately, this is live. So your documented exploits at Walmart, you're banged, so am I. But at this point, it's you got to be willing to take risks, though. Yeah. I think to explore that lane as a full-time proposition. You talk about working at Walmart.
Yes.
When I think a lot of people start out in our industry, you do things like work at Walmart. I loaded trucks at FedEx during the day while working midnight to 6 a.m.
There you go.
For, pennies on the dollar because everybody in the world wants to do these things.
Right.
And there's always going to be somebody cheaper who can do what you're doing right then.
And some jobs are fun though. So a lot of people might be listening and you got a fun job where you like to go into work, you're winning. You know what I mean? And that could be no matter what you're doing. But, I've been fired from so many jobs. I worked at Pier 1 once. I was the only straight man there. I felt good about that. Pier 1, I worked at Target.
Hey, listen, Dara just moved in, so I'm at a lot more Pier 1s and Home Goods and all these things. So
hold on, how's the girl moving going?
Well, that's fine. I mean, I haven't been home for 3 weeks of the month that we've been living together because of the Titan schedule. So it's been a soft landing for everybody involved.
How much you want to bet, Lucas, that by this time next year he'll have a child? I guarantee you that.
Either a child or a dog, two things that he swears he will never have.
Oh, no, the dog's happening. Christmas, he's getting a dog for Christmas.
No, it's not even Christmas. You open the door and there's like a pack of them running through the street.
Yeah. Whose dogs are these? These are yours now. And I'm pregnant, so welcome to the new life. But yes, Good Vibes Festival, man. It's all about good vibes. Please come out. It's free admission. We have so much good food, so much good times happening. Like, we have an art show, and 40% of it is going to a North Nashville charity called the Black Nashville Assembly. Yeah. And it's a 501c3, so you're literally giving to a charity and buying art. I'm going to have some new pieces in there. A friend of mine, Lysander Bryant, who was just in the Frisk, he's going to have pieces up in there, man. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Pumpkin painting. T-Rac's going to be there. I got to shout out to my sponsors. The Titans are actually sponsoring me.
Oh,
this is insane.
Look at you.
So T-Rac and the cheerleaders will be there. So hopefully they're single. And if anybody else is single, maybe you can get a Titan cheerleader perhaps. Or if you're into raccoons with Titan jerseys, maybe you can bag T-Rac.
Listen, I think it depends on the contingent. Yeah, it could go either way as far as that's concerned.
That's true, man. So we're going to have so much going on, man. Slim and Hussey's going to be there. We're going to have so much good food, good pizza. It's going to be a beautiful thing, man. Oh, full bar. That's the most important thing.
There it is. Yeah, that's the selling point.
That took a very long time. There's somebody in the studio showing nipples.
Not in the studio, outside the studio. I'm absolved. Yeah. Immediately walks away from the scene of the crime.
I've been flashed by a man in a bucket hat. This is it. Next time we're doing a Zoom. I need to be more comfortable.
At Sir Joshua Black is where you follow him for more information. Now, Good Vibes Fest also has social media channels that you can follow at
GoodVibesFest.com. That's vibes with a Z. GoodVibesFest.com. Also at Good Vibes Fest with a Z on Instagram, on Facebook. We're doing it. Bring your kid, bring your mom, bring your grandma, bring your wife, bring your son.
It's going to be a great time.
Yeah. Oh, and Buck's doing it. We have to see. It's 11:30. His set's he was going to let me get out of here without without saying that.
Yeah.
He's going on at 11:30.
I'm trying.
So I need you there at 11 o'clock so we can see him set up.
No. If you're showing fashionably late, it's okay.
No.
We may be halfway through my Bruce Springsteen collection, but we'll find out at 11:30.
Sweet Caroline has been taken.
The flag has been planted.
Yeah, so 11 to 5, we're there. I'm Joshua Black, and Buck's having a child soon. So
Thanks for the time, buddy.
Peace, bro.
Welcome back on this Thursday. We're going to go through some of the highlights or lowlights, depending on how you view them, of the Tennessee Volunteers' last trip to Death Valley, 2010. The date lives in infamy with many of you. Lucas has a bit of PTSD, it looks like, every time I bring up that game or that date. But first, to some phone calls, 615-737-1045. I'm really excited about this Good Vibes Fest, by the way. I hope a lot of people are going to come out and support. I know they will, because Josh is doing a media tour. I know he's going to be on local television throughout the course of the week. So if you want to come out for a great time for free with all kinds of excellent experiences, Good Vibes Fest on the 15th from 11 to 5. Randy is in Tampa Bay up first. Hello, Randy.
I used to think that when you needed a book, you had to go to the bookstore. And when you needed hardware, you had to go to the hardware store, yeah. But now I get everything I need at one convenient location. Here's the rule book over at the Galleria Mall, Franklin, Tennessee. Dig it!
What just happened?
I'm as stunned as you are.
Was that... Don't they have a fake Macho Man Randy Savage?
I don't think that was our Macho Man.
You think that was another one?
Yeah, that was just a Randy from Tampa that wanted to call in about Good Vibes Festival.
Clearly he's not in Tampa, nor did he want to talk about Good Vibes Festival. I'm disoriented.
Well, I'll take it.
Speaking of disoriented, you want to talk about your vivid memories of the last time that Tennessee almost snuck up on the 12th ranked LSU Tigers under Derek Dooley. Tennessee 2-3 at the time heading into that game, but a damning penalty situation caused the entire end of the game to be reviewed in ways that haunt, I think, Vols fans still to this day.
Yeah, actually the last two times Tennessee has played LSU, it's been a bit of a fever dream, whether it was that 2010 game, too many men on the field. I mean, everybody remembers that. Or the 2017 game. That was my last game as a student, my senior year at the University of Tennessee, and the driving monsoon in that game with Brady Hoke as the head coach of the Vols. They had already fired Butch Jones. The season was already in the gutter, and that was Ed Orgeron in the season where he lost to Troy before the Joe Burrow era at LSU. And if you watch the game broadcast copy from that 2017 matchup, you literally can't see anything with how the rain is pouring through Neyland Stadium. I mean, you've seen it, right? You see what I'm talking about.
No, I think Emily Proud was down there covering that game.
I think Emily worked in Knoxville at the time. I might be wrong. She might have
2017, that sounds right, because I still, that pre-game interview with Orgeron before he comes out of the tunnel, I can't remember if it was like Alyssa Lang or somebody else with the SEC network, but just he's not wearing any kind of rain gear. He's soaking wet. He's growling. He's ready. Football. Go Tigers.
Yeah, Brady Hoke trotting out kickers for like 40-yard field goals that just never had even a remote chance. I don't even remember how that game played out because you couldn't see anything. I've never been more drenched in my life. But the 2010 game was Derek Dooley, like you said, 2-3, year one. Tennessee's on its third head coach in as many years. Lane Kiffin had just bolted, and they had some early season struggles. They had lost to Florida, and they're 2-3. And they go down to LSU with Matt Sims as the starting quarterback. And the number 10 LSU Tigers scored on a huge play early in that game with Jordan Jefferson, the brother, I believe, of Justin Jefferson, was LSU's quarterback for a while. 75-yard touchdown run on like play number 1 in that game, and you thought the route was on. And then Tennessee just hung in there. They played really well defensively. They scored to go up, and LSU driving down the field. It was a classic Les Miles clock management game. I mean, that was the biggest knock on Les Miles. His whole career at LSU was clock management at the end of games, and this would have been, if Tennessee had won, the biggest indictment on Miles as a clock manager, as a head coach, and of course, why don't we just relive it?
Second down goal from the 2-yard line. 32 ticks left. He's going to tuck and run. Jefferson finds a seam. No! Inside the 2. LSU's got to hurry this thing up. Jefferson. There's a mix-up.
Clock is running.
It is running down.
You got to spike it. You got to do something.
Down to 4. Down to 3. Oh! Jefferson wasn't ready for it.
Ball game.
It is over. It is over in Baton Rouge.
Can you believe it?
Illegal participation on the defense.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
This game is not over. Jefferson will go under center in a wild end here in Baton Rouge. Pitch, Ridley. Touchdown! LSU! A miracle! A miracle in Baton Rouge!
16-14 in favor of the Tigers. That's such a hard pill to swallow, especially when you've just celebrated like you won.
Derek Dooley was mobbed by his players. He was almost in the locker room because it took a while for them to get everybody back on the field to review the play. I mean, it was, what could have been a very glaring indictment of Les Miles' clock management turned into a...
Listen to the crowd in the background of that when they think they've lost.
Yeah.
Like, it just sounds like a horde of boos.
I mean, clock's running down. The center smartly snaps the ball because time's running out. And Jefferson's not paying attention, and he has to run back and scramble on top of it as time runs out. And the substitution package for Tennessee just so undisciplined, where they bring guys on, but nobody came off. Like, it wasn't a case of, that you see all the time, just that one guy that couldn't get off the field in time, and they got 12 men on the field because he had 1 foot still on the grass as he was sprinting to the sideline. No, they had 13 men in formation, in position, ready to defend that play.
That's right.
Oh, it hurt, man. It hurt. We asked people, if you're a Vols fan, what is one word to describe the way, or when you remember of the 2010 LSU game? And Eric says traumatic. Blake says pain. Luke says broken. Sums it up. And that was one of 2 games that Tennessee won and then didn't win that year, because the Music City Bowl down the road here at Nissan Stadium was the reason that NCAA instituted the 10-second runoff rule in that game against North Carolina, when the official says the game is over and Tennessee fans go nuts. And then, no.
Just a second,
and
please.
UNC literally benefited from having too many men on the field because it was just a 5-yard penalty that backed them up, and they're still able to hit the field goal.
So there are some demons, to put it lightly.
You think?
Around Death Valley. And listen, it's an 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff. That's not ideal for LSU fans. If it's going to work to anybody's benefit, it's going to be Tennessee. But still, I expect, what's the capacity of Tiger Stadium? It's like 95 or 96,000 people, I believe. It's one of the biggest stadiums in the country.
They sold it out by Tuesday.
I mean, it's going to be rocking.
Yeah, I mean, people are really... It is better for Tennessee that it is not a 7 p.m. kickoff, without question. But it's still Death Valley. It's still going to be sold out. There will be people in there. They're not all going to be in bed and hungover. There will be people in the building looking for Brian Kelly's first signature win as the head coach at LSU.
This would be one. Josh Heupel just got one when last we saw the Tennessee Volunteers. He's had 2 in the last couple of weeks. We will see how these things go for the Vols down at number 25 LSU this weekend. Will Bowling and Ron Slayer going? It will be, I think, a special edition of the Tennessee Tailgate Show with Slay and Will, so that'll be a good time. And I know a lot of Vols fans are making that trip. I would expect there's going to be something like 20,000, 30,000 Vols fans in that place.
I think that's going to continue throughout the course of the season. Every road trip this year, I mean, to South Carolina and to Vanderbilt. I mean,
Vandy, the whole Vandy situation, the Checker Vanderbilt Stadium website is still up right now. And I think that's a thing that could actually happen, which would be horrific.
I think that could happen.
I think that's a scary proposition. Anyway, 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. Let's take a look at the Titans' inside linebacking situation before Jeffrey Simmons joins us at 11:15. That's coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:01. Good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans injury report from Wednesday's practice included 5 DNPs as Traylon Burks, Ola Adeni, Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree, and Joe Jones did not practice. Wide receivers Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson among those that did not practice for Washington. Dotson will not play on Sunday, and neither will Washington defensive end Chase Young. Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill spoke yesterday with the media about that challenge and facing this Washington front seven that's missing one of its best players.
They're talented, no doubt about it. Their front is extremely talented. They're big, they're physical across the board, really, starts inside and really moves outside as well. So a front that I have a lot of respect for, that we as a team have a lot of respect for. They're disruptive. They rush the passer well, and then you pair that with backers who are physical, and overall it's just a really physical front.
Titans kick off at noon at Washington on Sunday, and Titans defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons will join the Buck Rising show coming up in just a few minutes. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 off and rolling. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back. If you've been spending some of your morning with us so far, we're grateful to you. Jump in if you like, 615-737-1045. That's the number. Jeff Simmons going to be on the phone here in just about 10 minutes from now, so stick around to hear from the Titans stud defensive tackle. I think it's the first time we've had Jeff on the show. That's a grave error on our part, but we'll look forward to catching up with him before he heads out onto the practice field today. We're going to talk about the depth, the reinforcements that the Titans may or may not have coming into this Washington game, and what that can mean for the matchup. But let's go to the phones. We haven't gotten many in today, so let's make sure that we do. 615-737-1045. How about Jerry from the great state of Kentucky? Hello, Jerry.
Hey, man, I actually live in Tennessee. I'm on my way to Missouri going through Kentucky. But I heard you talking about checkering Dudley Field. Being a huge Tennessee fan, if someone could take a aerial photograph of that, I would definitely buy one.
I'm certain. So what's the deal on this? Like, is there actual momentum for them to checker Vanderbilt Stadium?
I think so. And look, it's all powered by social media, but that's what Checker Neyland was powered by. And it was given voice to by, administrators and the athletic director, and players would get out there about it. So I wouldn't put it past them, would you? I mean, that's a 35,000 person stadium, First Bank Stadium.
Yeah, that's right. Naming rights, baby. They're making money off of it at least.
Like if you could checker 100,000 in Knoxville, you can checker 35,000 in Nashville.
I would think. And there's few things that Tennessee fans enjoy more than beating up and embarrassing Vanderbilt. That would be an embarrassing situation. And of course, it's only the most predictable one because we know how often that happens to Vandy.
I think they'll do it because they can.
Well, they certainly can. And if they got this kind of momentum and a team that looks like it can legitimately compete with the likes of Alabama, not win, but legitimately compete with the likes of Alabama and Georgia, maybe win the Georgia game if they continue to look mortal this way.
39,790 is the capacity at First Bank Stadium. Tyler in the YouTube chat says it's going to be orange no matter what. It just depends on how well they can coordinate it.
It is. So the website is checkervandy.com, it looks like at this point. I don't know how many of them there are. There seem to be several. Yeah, checkervandy.com appears to be the main one. And it's organized by section, what color to wear, scroll down to the chart below. It's a whole thing. I want to know who got created by Nick Weathers 14. So whomever Nick Weathers 14 is out here to troll the Vanderbilt faithful. How about John in Lebanon up next?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Listen, I've been a
ball fan for over 50 years. Our colors are orange and white, not gray and orange. I can't believe that our team is wearing that ugly gray uniform that they should have burned when they fired Butch Jones. I'll get up, get off, and listen.
No, wait, John, stay there for a second if you would. Do you want them gone because you associate it with a bad time in your football life, or just because, uniform purism?
Uniform purism. You don't see Alabama and Ohio State and all these other big teams changing their colors to gray or any other color predominant. We've got our colors. We didn't need that color brought in. I never did like it. It's just don't represent our team. If we're going to be before a national TV audience, we need to be wearing our colors.
I appreciate the call, John. I mean, the default answer is always it's not for you, it's for the recruits.
Right. Well, and Ohio State has done this. They've done the blackout uniforms before. Alabama has not.
Alabama's the one of the few that really sticks with that because it's just, and it's not that Tennessee's not, but Alabama's uniform is just so classical in a way that it's like a different level of offense to alter it for one of these uniform gimmicks. Now, they don't have to necessarily play to recruits like that with uniforms because they're Alabama and they'll send you to the league and you'll probably win a national championship at some point in your 4 or 5 or 3 even years there, depending on how good of a football player you are. So I think from that standpoint, like Alabama is kind of in a class of its own. Is there another institution like that? Because Ohio State does do variations on their uniforms.
Yes, they've definitely done it.
Notre Dame does do variations of their uniforms.
Georgia's done it. They've done the blackout. I've never seen Auburn go with alternate uniforms.
Okay.
But, there's programs that will do it. There's programs that won't. Again, I had a similar mindset. To be honest.
Do you?
I used to. I mean, when I was a student at Tennessee, I liked them in the moment because they were cool. They got the crowd all hyped up. But then I got jaded to them because of the way the Butch era ended. And Butch was kind of a gimmicky coach. That was sort of part of his deal. But I've definitely changed my tone on it. That doesn't matter what I think or what you think. It's what the kids think. What this high school kid thinks, that's what matters.
Yeah. The wide receivers that they're so desperately trying to recruit to play with Nico Iamaleava, because that's not really a position, at least the last time I checked in, that's picked up any kind of legitimate traction, although I'm sure the amount of recruits that were at the Florida game has turned the tide in Tennessee's favor for some of these kids. It is about the recruiting attraction of it because, kids like uniforms. That's how it goes. Young people like uniforms for the most part. So I understand both sides. But you have to understand the practicality of why it's being done beyond just the fact that, hey, these look cool and they're going to be on national TV. They're going to wear them on national TV because they want more people to see them and see, okay, Tennessee has, a unique, the smoky grays, right? That's the kind of thing that a lot of teams do to just do a little extra eye candy when they're not the Alabamas of the world, because there's really only the one.
Well, I liked what Heupel did with it last year in that they broke out the dark mode uniforms for the South Carolina game, right? And now they did it for the Georgia game as well. But I like the idea of breaking it out for a game that is not just hyped up, that it feels like that letdown if you lose. Break it out for the Missouri game, for the South Carolina game.
The bad juju associated with wearing a different uniform in a big matchup. That's spoken like a true jaded Vols fan. 615-737-1045. Speaking of SEC programs, the Mississippi State Bulldogs are doing really well right now. 2 of them, as a matter of fact, play for the Tennessee Titans, and one of the most famous ones in Jeffrey Simmons will join us coming up next.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
We got people going with uniform talk. CheckerVandy.com's got everybody hot and bothered. Vols wearing the smoky grays at Death Valley this weekend. Jeff Simmons going to be here in just a second, but we'll get some phone calls in the meantime. 615-737-1045. How about John in Murfreesboro?
What's up, Buck? I know I'm a day late, but the dumbest thing in sports is these fans that get upset about jerseys, about the music that plays at games, about, all these little gimmicks that the schools do that they do for the players. They don't do these for the fans. The fans matter, of course, but all this stuff is for the players because the players are the ones that are out there putting their bodies on the line. They're the ones that are bringing the money in for the school, and they're the ones that we're trying to make have fun. So all these people get upset, and I see it on groups for Memphis all the time. They get mad because they play rap over the PA, and I'm just like, guys, that's what the players like. So shut up and deal with it.
Yeah, I think there's entitlement that comes with being a sports fan, just generally, right? You pay for a ticket, you want what you want. If you don't like the uniforms, you're going to complain about the uniforms. You don't like the music in the arena or the stadium, you're going to complain about it. All these different things. But for the most part, I think it's just something that I think it's a fun talking point. I think it's a fun wrinkle. I understand that there are going to be your uniform purists, however you want to call it. That doesn't seem like a lot of fun for me. But, my sensibilities aren't the same sensibilities as people who think that way. Now, it's not necessarily a generational thing either. You just heard Lucas articulate the idea that that's not the case for him. But we'll have to get back to that later because it looks like there's somebody on the line. Is that Big Jeff's music?
Jones staying in the gun. Jones under pressure. Hit. Sack. Ball free. But Dupree has it. What a play by Big Jeff. Not only is that 100 from Kroger to Second Harvest Food Bank, that's a takeaway for Big Bud.
That's Mike Keith, Titans Radio on the call. Jeffrey Simmons, Bud Dupree, strip sack and recover against the New York Giants. Jeff joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. What's going on, stud?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing all right. You fired up for practice today? How's the week going?
It's going good. As everyone knows, today is one of the most important days, especially for us. It's short yardage and third down. So, it's one of them days where everyone have to be locked in because, especially with their guys on third down, they have a lot of skilled guys. We have to know where each and every one of the guys that we have to be able to communicate and eventually, get off the field on third down. We have to do better at that. So, today just a step closer to that.
Well, and certainly the goal is to always get better no matter what phase of the game it is, Jeff, offense, defense, or special teams. But, you guys look like you're having a lot of, particularly up front, you guys look like you're having a lot of fun up there right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you having success, no one being selfish and everyone, I would call it everyone eating, everyone, affecting the game some type of way. You're supposed to have fun with it. And, and one thing we talk about around here, sharing the success with each other, not just, someone make a play, just walk away from it, It's hard to make a play out there, with the quarterbacks either getting the ball off or, whatever it may be, So, everyone having impact, no matter if the corners holding up their coverage and we get into the quarterback or, we can't get there and guys on the back end get a pass deflection or interception. So we all working together to have that type of fun. There's no fun when we can't get out the field and they driving the ball and end up scoring. So I think if we keep doing that, working together as a defense and as a team, we'll keep and continue to have fun on the field.
Titans defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons is here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Watching your guys' game back a couple of times against the Colts, Jeff, I continue to be impressed with how well everything works together, particularly on these stunts and games that you guys play up front. And the idea that the Colts have what is regarded as one of the better offensive lines in the league. I know they're kind of going through their own situations right now, but to not just see you playing at a high level, but Danico, who consistently brings it week after week, and Tart playing as good a game as I've seen from him since he's been on this roster. What kind of pride does that instill in your guys' room as a whole?
I mean, first off, in order to be able to, say for instance, the third down success or the second and longs where we're able to get Danico on the field and inside of be able to rush them guards like that, we have to be great on first and second down early on. That make teams, because since I've been here, we have taken and still to this day we take a lot of pride in stopping the run. And when you stop the run, everything and so much stuff open up for our defense. We could be able to put guys out there to make plays, and I think that's where it starts at. Even with Tart, having a major impact right there over the center, over the snapper. So I think things in that nature. When we talk about being able to rush the passer and guys being able to get sacks and whatever it may be, I think that's where it started at the first and second down, getting off the field, being able to get your rushers and your cover guys on the field for third down, because at third and long, then you could go have fun with whatever you may call. It's not third and short where you really, you like, oh, they might run the ball here still. So, and the ball might come out quick. So I think that's where it started at. Just like yesterday practice, first and second down. Today is third down. It's about keep trying to get better on the early down so we are able to make plays on third down or whatever it may be. So, like I said, having Nico, especially, I think I told you guys this last year, we compete with each other, each and every week, whoever has the best stats is we got our personal thing going. So and it's not just are we trying to, beg against each other, stuff like that. I think it's more like, I know and what getting Nico going. He know what gets me going, and we only been playing together, going on 2 years now. So when you got guys like that and can push you, when you got them one-on-one, you better win. And I tell him the same thing. So, just things like that when you have a front like that working together and pushing each other, we all could, have a major impact on the game.
It's certainly a lot of fun to watch. Jeff Simmons here with us on 104.5 The Zone. To your point about Danico, Jeff, and you kind of articulating the things that you know what makes him tick. You know how to get him going in certain elements, and our dealings with Danico are a lot different because he's a man who speaks with his play, at least with us. Like, he's not a man of many words, certainly when we deal with him. But when I'm looking at you guys and the way that you kind of feed off of each other, it seems like a really special relationship. I'm sure you have all kinds of different relationships with all manner of different teammates, but given how much, how much time you guys spend together, your alma mater being the same, I'm sure you've interacted with each other prior to being teammates, given the fact that you both went to Mississippi State. Like, that seems to be something that really, really vibes well.
Well, I don't even, because I didn't get a chance to play with Danico at Mississippi State. It just, it's kind of one of them things where, you got guys who have the same mindset and mentality as you, like every time you take the field, you have just a killer mindset, whoever across from you, you just want to dominate them. And I think that's why me and Danico gel so easy and fast, because we both had the same, from the day, when I saw we signed him, I reached out to him, and, from that day forward, I knew from that day, yeah, this is going to be good, because, like I said, we both have the same mindset. And I played with his younger brother, Lee Archer, at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I heard so much about him, and then, we played him, my first 2 years here, and I saw how he affected the game against us when he was with the coach. So it's like when you got guys like that who, can play the way he played, and and to quite frankly, I do feel like he one of the best guys at his position, and the way he played the game. I do feel like he don't get enough credit the way he do play the game. So, but like I said, man, it wasn't long before me and Danico actually clicked together, and I knew we both could be special together.
No, I mean, my God, Jeff, I can't agree more with what you're saying about how underrated he is, even though it seems like at least locally, it's different local versus what conversations are around the NFL on a larger scale. But it feels like everybody's been screaming this dude's praises for so long. It's become a bit of an echo chamber. But I mean, I was sitting there in the press box watching you guys go to work on Sunday and thinking, how the hell did the Colts let him get out of their building and go to a divisional team?
Hey, I appreciate him. Like I said, I saw him when he played against us. I knew what type of guy he was before he came to us. When he came to us, I was like, appreciate it. And it's crazy because I remember just talking to one of his former teammates. He was just like, man, you're going to love the Nico. Man, I don't know why we did that, and, not to say no name, but
sure.
I'm sure they miss him as well. They know what type of player Nico was, and I see, and everyone else see what type of player Nico is.
Jeff Simmons, kind enough to give us some of his time before practice today. Jeff, let you get out of here on this one. You've played Wentz before, obviously during his time in the AFC South. Are you guys looking at tendencies from previous games as much as how he's operating in their offense, or how does that kind of scouting process work for you all?
I think when it just come down to quarterback play, especially from my standpoint, from when I'm rushing quarterbacks, we have to know how do he like to escape? When we are playing when we rushing guys like Wentz who like to duck in the pocket, or if we get an opportunity to hit him in the open field, we know he don't really like to slide. He like to dive. So I think it's stuff in that manner where you have to take from the past experience and just the film study. I'm sure the guys on the back end look at it different, the way his mechanism is. But, from my standpoint, from what I look at, when I do beat the guard or whoever it may be, what is Wentz doing to try to avoid me? And like I said, I know that he not going down easy. He like to duck up under defensive linemen. So it's just like you have to, it can't be one of them kill shots against him. You got to make sure you just get him to the ground because, like I said, he do try to break your tackle or duck under you.
Hey, Jeff, man, I really appreciate you stopping by. Continued health and success this season, man, and thanks again for the time.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
That's Jeff Simmons before the Titans take the practice field today. From one Titans conversation to another, Todd Downing, the offensive coordinator, is at the podium. Why don't we go live to St. Thomas Sports Park?
Situation. So I can certainly help by, trying to get outbreaking routes or, going with something a little more one and done on the read. But, we were close to what we wanted there.
Should Traylon have got the play before that? Should Traylon have gotten out of bounds maybe instead of trying to get an extra yard or two? Or
you'd always love to stop the clock as opposed to, fight for a yard. So
you've had some success with getting Derek outside, the swing pass early on, that touchdown that got called back, and setting up wide receivers blocking for him. How have you felt about wide receivers and blocking on the second level and their ability? How important has that been, too, to getting Derek going more and maybe hitting some of those home run runs?
Yeah, those guys, that whole group has really played selfless football this year for us, and they've done a great job blocking on the perimeter. I thought the timing on that swing screen was absolutely excellent. Jeff Swaim did a nice job of fitting that block as well without it being, offensive pass interference. And I know winning is a run, but you got to be careful there, not blocking while the ball's in the air. And I think Nick Westbrook, and Cody Hollister and Robert Woods and Traylon and all those guys have had their opportunities. Even Kyle, when he's been asked to block out there, have all done an excellent job of saying, my man's not going to make the tackle. And when we play that way as an offense, we play efficiently, we move the football. We've got to make sure that translates to every area, not just blocking for Derek in space.
I'm sure you'd like guys to be running wide open, but can separation be, I don't want to say overrated, but you've got a quarterback capable of making tight window throws. Are you satisfied in some circumstances if a guy's just got enough for a tight window throw and the separation thing? Maybe?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. NFL open is not 4 or 5 yards of separation, right? NFL Open is in a place where you can catch the ball, even in a contested situation, but, the ball's out in front of you and you can catch it in front of your eyes. So we can't search for these times where guys are just running scot-free, right? We need to be able to create separation, maybe with rubs and picks, things of that nature, where we're able to get guys access and then make tight contested catches for sure.
Teams are playing, your receivers. It's clear you got big physical receivers. You guys work on combat catches. When it's one-on-one out there, no safety over top, would you like to see more checks? Like, hey, go to that fade, go to that 9 route. Is that something that you want the guys to do more?
I think some of it is situational. I think when you're dealing with some pressures and things like that, you have some opportunities to use some checks. And then I think, we talked about the play pass earlier. Sometimes it's got to fit within the quarterback's timing and drop and things of that nature. So we're always looking for ways to attack down the field. We want to be able to put our guys in the best position possible based on their skill set and their abilities. And that's just an ongoing process and a challenge for me to see how can we push this ball down the field more consistently.
Play caller, though, when they're doing that, is that something that you take personally for your guys who are out there? Because, it is a form of disrespect.
Yeah, you always want to try to stoke that competitive fire, right? And say, hey, they're putting you on an island over there. It's mano a mano who's gonna come down with it. So absolutely.
Difference in Nate Davis from last year to this year. Seems like he's been much improved in terms of being both a run blocker and a pass protector.
Yeah, I think another year under his belt, more experience. He's seen more, he's lived more, and I think that he's really dedicated to taking it one snap at a time and maybe putting either good or bad behind him and just going on to the next play. So, very pleased with Nate and the way that he's stepped up in a leadership role. And believe it or not, he's a vet now, so he's got to help with some of the youth we have up there, and it's been fun to watch.
What have you seen in terms of Josh Gordon's progress since he's come along, and I guess the reason for him maybe not, playing last week as opposed to the previous 2 weeks? What went into that decision too?
Yeah, as far as who's up and who's down and all that, I'll leave that to Coach Vrabel to talk to you guys about those decisions. I'll speak on Josh and his work habits here. He's been, working diligently to get more and more comfortable with the offense. I think he's getting in better and better shape, understanding how we want to do things. I think he's growing in his kind of width and breadth of understanding the offense, so he's not just a single position player. So like the work that he's putting in, and I think that when and if his number gets called, he'll be ready to contribute.
How long has the chick play been in the works? How long have you practiced that? And as a coordinator, how do you pick the time? Hey, we're going to use this play.
Which one? The last play of the game?
The late one, yeah.
About 5 days. That was marinating about 5 days. Yeah.
For the Colts
game,
and how when you're working a play like that and it works at the right time, how good is that as a sell as an offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking for those small victories. So I celebrated that one a little bit. I was excited to see that play executed and us be able to kneel on the football. Obviously we want to perform better in the second half, but any game that you tell me we get to knee on it to end the game, I'll take it.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
I thought you were going to hit me with the music.
Come on, then. We can at least pretend to be.
You're such a D-bag. Do you get even more enjoyment out of faking like you're going to be a professional and just completely swamping me with?
I enjoyed that one. I'm not going to lie.
That's Todd Downing, the Titans offensive coordinator, on a couple of different things. So, of Josh Gordon, no real information there on why he was not a game day call-up from the practice squad against the Colts the way he had been in the previous 2 weeks, but just that he has been working diligently. They talked about trying to manufacture or really trying to hit on more of these explosive plays, because you'll hear Greg Cosell talk about that a little later on, and how, what they are right now may well be what their season projects as throughout the course of this. Not much better, not much discernibly worse. Ultimately, the question becomes, is that good enough to win given their personnel situation? And I think that when you talk about the thing, I mean, we just had Jeff Simmons on talking about the defensive effort. Those guys played damn good with 5 starters missing. Like, that's not an easy thing to accomplish, and both because of scheme and execution and some really nice efforts by guys like Dylan Cole or Mario Edwards, who played 35 snaps in that game after Bud went down. And, looked pretty crisp on some of these stunts that he was running. For what it's worth, while I was out at practice yesterday, was not lost on me that Mario Edwards, who's listed as a defensive tackle, was working with the outside linebackers when they broke off into individual periods, the same way that Danico Autry does. Something to keep in mind on how they kind of adjust and adapt their personnel in the absence of some critical players. But the defense is good enough to keep them in these games, good enough to force turnovers the way they did against the Colts, good enough to get pressure on quarterbacks like Carr or Daniel Jones, and certainly Wentz coming up, because Washington has significant protection issues of their own. The question becomes, how much better can the offense be right now as presently constructed? Because at least defensively, you're looking at reinforcements that can be coming back down the line. On the offensive side of the football, it's really just Treylon Burks and Taylor Lewan that they're missing. Beyond that, this is kind of what this is what the group is going to look like. So there's not that same kind of thought process of, when we get player X back, it'll make all the difference in the world. Treylon Burks has not yet proven himself to be that guy, and I think that's the thing that most of us still have questions about after 4 weeks of football.
Washington, by the way, on the defensive note, allowed more sacks than anybody in the NFL, which I don't know why I was surprised by that. Because
on an offensive note, you mean?
They've allowed 17 sacks.
You said defensive note.
Or I guess the Titans' defensive note. But they've allowed 17 sacks. The Bears, Bengals, and Rams are tied at 16.
Yeah, they're really bad.
The attention's all been on the Bengals, right? Because of the resources they devoted to fixing the offensive line and how bad it was, especially in the first 2 to 3 games. And the Colts, with the conversations we have here in the AFC South and Matt Ryan's turnover-prone nature early on. But the Commanders have been just as bad, if not worse, than anybody at protecting their quarterback.
Well, and here's the thing, because we'll talk about this. We'll go into more detail tomorrow on this specifically. But Wentz does the Burrow thing. Like, he holds the football. A lot of the pressure that's caused on Carson Wentz is brought on unto himself. Like, Burrow is good enough to make these plays, and you're willing to live with him, if you're the Bengals coaching staff, because they haven't, beyond trying to pay offensive linemen who are better than the last ones they had, they haven't really done anything schematically to fix it or to give him more protection help. So they're living with a couple of these extra sacks that Joe Burrow is going to take, because he's going to make a big play more often than not. Carson Wentz is capable of some of that. He's obviously not as good a quarterback as Joe Burrow is, but he does do some of those things where holding the football for an extra second can make all the difference in the world for a defense trying to affect the quarterback. Speaking of offensive line and potential issues, there was a quote given out by the Auburn center yesterday ahead of their upcoming matchup with Georgia that you absolutely have to hear. That's next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. That's fine. I'm going to go get a water. If any of this sounds familiar, you feel sluggish, run down, your sex drive has been low, you just don't necessarily feel like you used to. It could very well be low testosterone. Low T treatments can truly change your life. Most men experience higher energy, better gains in the gym, better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, and so much more. It only costs $99 for a testosterone and PSA test at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and in a matter of minutes, you'll know your numbers. They make it easy for you. And if you're like most men with low T, they can help you get back on track fast. They specialize in men's health at the Tennessee Men's Clinic and are reinventing men's health care. So call them today, 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. How much time do we have? So there's a little bit of heat going on in the SEC, surprise to no one. Game's oldest rivalry, according to some, or I guess according to everybody, Auburn and Georgia coming up along with the rest of this SEC slate. Now, there's some bulletin board material being tossed around. Spicy. I saw this headline on AL.com. Auburn's Brandon Council believes the offensive line can, quote, demolish Georgia's defensive front. Do you have the audio? Does it include the question that he's asked, or is it just his response, Lucas?
I believe it includes the question.
All right, so let's hear the question that Auburn center Brandon Council was asked.
Looking at Georgia's defense, what do you see that's made them so effective?
I believe just them being able to, like, their third down packages, and you know, they got some interior stunts that kind of hinders the run game, but if we're going to start off fast, you start off fast and run the ball on them and keep them out of their third down packages, really, we could demolish them, I believe, personally, up front.
He's not lacking for any confidence, but, you know, it's not like Auburn's had a tremendous amount of success to that effect so far this year, and to do it against Georgia after they've won these last two games, but they're definitely they've been being kicked while I'm looking for the right term because they're not technically down. They've won these two games, but they've just had a bit of a humbling experience for the last 2 weeks against Kent State and Missouri. So to really poke and prod them further, especially when you're Auburn and you have nothing that you have done particularly well throughout the course of the year, and the Brian Harsin situation continues to loom over everything that you do, I appreciate his confidence. I wish more players at press conferences would talk like that openly. I feel it is still going to probably go poorly for the Auburn offensive line, for them just taking pot shots at a Georgia team that remains undefeated despite having 2 down games.
I never understand this stuff.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, yeah, it's great for us. I'm glad this happened because we're talking about it, but it doesn't mean I understand it. Like, this Georgia team should already be pissed off after the way they've played the last 2 weeks. Like, Kirby Smart is probably telling them, oh, you think you're good. You think you already won the national championship. He probably told them that after Kent State, and it's troubling probably for Georgia fans that wasn't the wake-up call that they figured it would be at Missouri. So back-to-back games with lackluster performances. We talked about it last week. Georgia allowed a team to score 17 or over 17 points one time last season. It's happened twice now in 2 weeks against Kent State and against Missouri. The game's at home. Georgia's already going to be pissed off. It's the South's oldest rivalry, primetime, SEC on CBS. I do not understand what you're trying to do here.
Now, they are going to be without Jalen Carter, the preseason All-American for the Georgia defensive line, but they still project to have, that's 8 or 9 top-tier defensive linemen options that they can roll off their 2 deep. So, it's a significant loss to lose a player like that, but not to the effect that they're not just going to be able to replace him with the next guy off the assembly line.
Auburn's been bullied up front by multiple teams this season. So
demolish.
Demolish is a strong word.
It is an interesting choice of words.
Will this be the game that gets Harsin fired?
If it wasn't that Penn State game, man, what are we even doing out here? There's so much there that is questionable about the Auburn experience in decision-making. Now, in the SEC this weekend, obviously the top 25 matchup between Tennessee on the road at number 25 LSU. Arkansas, who dropped out of the rankings this week, will play at Mississippi State. Auburn is at Georgia. Ole Miss coming to Vanderbilt. And Texas A&M and Alabama, the marquee game for no other... LSU and Tennessee is probably the actual marquee game because I don't think anybody. What is the line between Alabama and A&M right now?
24.
24 points. So they're probably not going to go that well for Jimbo and company, given that Nick Saban has been waiting with an off season's worth of frustration to just bury him, and now Jimbo is in a spot where he's the biggest problem that they're experiencing with no clear and obvious solutions in plain sight. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. Bill in Lebanon is next. Hey, Bill.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm good.
Y'all are acting like Georgia's not going to play hard.
Who? Who is?
Georgia's going to play hard. It doesn't matter what they talk. They're going to play hard, either whatever they say.
Who's acting like Georgia's not going to play hard? Hang on, Bill. Who's acting like Georgia's not going to play hard? We are?
But you're acting like they're going to play harder due to if they're going to get pissed off or not and play better against Auburn.
Oh, no, you misunderstand me then, Bill. I just think that they're going to smoke Auburn either way. I don't think it necessarily like the bulletin board material is that much better. I just think the Auburn center is kind of, off his rocker with this one.
There's just nothing to be gained.
We're not talking about this from a Georgia standpoint. I'm just looking at this dude and be like, the hell are you doing?
Even whether or not it affects the Georgia players' mentalities, which I don't think they ignore in the locker room, one of their biggest rivals saying they're going to demolish them up front. But even if they did, and Auburn is the one that gets demolished, then why put out the risk of being the idiot that said we're going to demolish them and then going on the road and losing 40-7?
Bill, your thoughts?
You should just shut up. You should just shut up and not say anything. But Auburn's going to play hard and Georgia's going to play hard. Whatever they're saying in between doesn't really mean anything. That's the whole point.
Well, I appreciate the perspective. It's kind of like Derrick Henry against the Colts last week. We asked Derrick, hey, bud, you're playing at Lucas Oil for the first time since you broke your foot. Does that mean anything more to you? And, Derrick is not going to give us anything at a press conference like that. He's just like, no, it's another game, divisional game, important game to win on the road, blah, blah, blah. Then he rips through their secondary, takes his helmet off, and makes the Colts fans stare at him in the face because Derrick's pissed. Like that.
I love that. Look at me.
Look at me. Look at me in my eyes while I steal your soul, even if Treylon Burks is about to negate this with a phantom hold. Look at me, you peasants. So, yeah, you may think it means nothing, and largely it does mean nothing, but, these guys, this is the whole idea of highly competitive athletics, college, pro, or otherwise. People use whatever slights they can come up with to try and motivate themselves just a little more because it's all about mental and physical dominance, particularly in a sport like football. John in Hendersonville is next. Hey, John.
Hey, bud. Yeah, I'm here. I just had an idea. Y'all were talking about all these different color variations the schools are doing and everything. I had an idea a few nights ago, and I put it on Facebook. Had several people like it. Several people made comments about it. In regards to what it is, everyone is always doing the checkerboard in the stands up there.
Mm-hmm.
And as something different, I thought in terms, why not, instead of checkerboards, let's just go all orange. And then the players be in their orange.
Oh, call dropped. Sorry, John. Your phone line went out on us, but you got your point across, and we appreciate the call. You know, I mean, I think that's typically how it goes, and it would be an overwhelming sight, right? An orange out, for lack of a better term. You see Penn State with their whiteouts like that. I mean, I'm sure Tennessee does that, don't they?
No, the only thing Tennessee has done as far as, collectively as a stadium is checkered.
Oh, really? They don't, so it's not like an orange out in the stadium.
They've never done an orange out or a white out.
Is there any reason?
No.
Okay. Well, John in Hendersonville with the suggestion. Perhaps it will be taken under advisement by Danny White and the athletic department. 615-737-1045. Final hour on the horizon. You're going to hear from Ryan Tannehill on their struggles at the end of the first half against the Colts and what they think is happening in the second half. More of your phone calls on the SEC game. Yep. Superbook Sports. I'll deal with you later, Lucas. Superbook Sports is the place that you go to wager this football season. They're giving you the opportunity each and every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers on the strip. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys from across the pond setting lines for American sports. Just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app, visit superbook.com for terms and conditions, and start your battle against Vegas today. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. I was going to say we're going to talk more about these SEC games since we're going to Gulls, but fuck you too. Jerk.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans injury report from Wednesday's practice included 5 DNPs as Traylon Burks, Ola Adeni, Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree, and Joe Jones did not practice. Wide receivers Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson among those that did not practice for Washington. Dotson, we already know, will not play on Sunday, and neither will Washington defensive end Chase Young. It's an AFC South matchup tonight on Thursday Night Football. The Colts looking to avoid a 1-3-1 start to the season as they visit the Denver Broncos. Running back Jonathan Taylor has been ruled out after an ankle injury he suffered. And hear the Westwood One call right here on 104.5 The Zone. Kickoff at 7:15. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
South matchup? What's wrong with you? It's not an AFC South game. The Broncos are in the AFC West. All right, slow everything down before we start the third hour. Hello, welcome in, welcome back. I'm Buck Rising, blah, blah, blah. What the hell is this AFC South matchup that's being played on Thursday Night Football? You want to talk to me?
A matchup involving an AFC South team.
That's not what you said.
Perhaps worded poorly, but I saw you trying to interrupt me.
Now, you turned my microphone off.
I took you out of program before I even did the update because I said he wants revenge. I'm going to undercut that revenge.
It's not for me. It's for the audience. You don't think the audience likes when I just bulldoze you in the middle of an update? These, super serious sports broadcaster updates that have to be treated with some kind of sacred
let's
deference.
Put it to a poll. Let's put it to a poll.
What? Do people enjoy when I railroad you on the update?
Yes.
All right. At Buck Rising is where you can vote on the polls. We're happy to have you here throughout the course of the show. 615-737-1045. Jump in if you like. We're going to pivot to some Titan stuff in a minute, but there has been a lot of discussion about the SEC games coming up this weekend, and in particular, this Auburn and Georgia matchup. Some stray shots fired by an Auburn offensive lineman about this Georgia defense that, while they're missing a really good player, they should still figure to handle Auburn with relative ease. Now, that was not the case against Missouri, and Kent State gave them a pretty good ball game until Georgia started to pull away. So there is, wiggle room. But what we thought was innocuous comments and enjoyable comments are probably not a good idea for a place like Auburn, no matter what position is mouthing off, to go at the defending national champions that way. 615-737-1045. Chase is in Murfreesboro up next.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was going to touch on the guy called and acted like it didn't matter at all and that they were just going to play as hard as they could no matter what. Anyways, I'm kind of thinking this guy didn't see The Last Dance, did he? He didn't hear Michael Jordan just trying to find things to make himself play
No, not
harder.
just trying to find things, Jason. Making bleep up. Like Jordan just out here making stuff up.
Exactly. Making things up and such. I think he's kind of lost in some alternate reality that people don't find reasons to play a little harder here and there.
I appreciate the call. Yeah, I mean, there's that kind of motivation across sports. Now, speaking of things that, I think lack motivation or inspiration, we're coming up on next month, the World Cup, Lucas and Cotter. I know you're very excited, even though it's in the middle of the football season. I've just seen the rules for visitors to Cotter for the World Cup this year. Cotter's rules for people who will attend the World Cup 2022 in the country. Can I read you a couple of these?
Please.
Drinking alcohol is a violation.
Yep.
At one of the world's largest sporting events, no booze will be consumed? ? Or at least there will be Qatari punishments should you, have a beer or a glass of wine in the middle of this game.
I think they have designated areas for people to be able to drink alcohol.
I see. Because what it says is reflect your respect to the religion and culture of Qatari people by avoiding these behaviors. Drinking alcohol is among them. Homosexuality, apparently, is not allowed at the World Cup in Qatar. Turns out the place with horrendous human rights violations is also homophobic. Shocking to no one. Immodesty. Now, immodesty is not something that I figured there would be a graphic for.
Now, are you immodest right now? Is that hoodie cut off at the sleeves just a touch too high?
Oh, no, I think it's the shorts that are
it's
4 inch
definitely the shorts.
inseams.
It's definitely the shorts.
It's the fact that I'm showing all kinds of thigh. So, yes, my shorts today would fit the qualifications of immodesty. I barely know if they make it past the Cumulus media dress code.
They catch you wearing that, drinking a sip of tequila, you're thrown into prison.
Well, it's funny because the picture is just a woman's legs crossed.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's immodesty. So I don't know if it's showing leg or, sensualism that would offend the Qatari people. Profanity, not respecting places of worship, which I think is a reasonable request among, the rest of this nonsense. Loud music and sounds. Please be respectful without loud music or sounds.
Oh, my goodness.
When the World Cup famously had something called a vuvuzela that was just there to create annoying and loud sounds in the stadiums. No dating. Just flatly no dating. So, man and woman want to go get a cup of coffee. Is that a date?
Back to your room.
I don't know. First date kind of nervous? You should be if you're in Qatar, because that's not the place. That's not exactly where you want to meet your next significant other on Hinge at a Qatari coffee shop, sounds like. And then taking people's pictures without their permission, which I would assume gets you snatched up by the government.
Great place to hold the world's largest sporting event.
What is happening there?
I mean, you knew from the jump. As soon as they were awarded the World Cup bid, you knew from the jump that this was going to be the case.
Oh, it just makes you sad, though, because it's already going to get ignored. It's in the middle of the NFL season. I'm not going to pay attention to the World Cup like that.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of it for, not just American fans that don't want it to be in the middle of football season, but the soccer calendar, the European soccer calendar, runs from August through May, so it throws a giant wrench into that as well. It's just once the games start, once they kick off, I will be waking up at 4 a.m. to watch Switzerland play Saudi Arabia or whatever the matchups are.
Well, I'm sure you'll be completely useful that day at work.
I'll try, but
thank you. That's a lot of confidence that you've just instilled in me.
I'll be in on it when the games kick off, but it is hugely problematic that this is happening.
Courtney Orcutt says, Buck, quit buying shorts in the kids section. No, these are for grown men only, Courtney. This much thigh is only for the bravest and most masculine of men. Let me tell you that right now. Every time I walk in here and Slay's here, he's like, damn, some shorts. That's right. Until it stops being above 65 degrees in Middle Tennessee, the shorts live on because this is just the most comfortable way to exist. It's on you if you're as repressed as the Qatari people who, also probably don't appreciate 4-inch inseams. I think they're closer to 5. Anyway, let's talk about Ryan Tannehill, some comments that he had made yesterday to the assembled Titans media. Now, the first sequence of questions was about the way that the first half against the Colts ended. Famously, Ryan Tannehill has a 3rd-and-1 situation. He's holding the ball, looking to make a play. He starts to run up the pocket to try and convert. They do not get the conversion. They've already used their final timeout of the half. They are scrambling to get the field goal team on and get the kick off. Corey Levin flies over the back of Ryan Stonehouse and trips and fumbles all over himself, and they never get the kick. So the question was asked in the immediate post-game of Tannehill, hey, man, what happened there? And he just kind of told us, I don't really know what happened there. So the follow-up was asked of him yesterday, and this is what the Titans quarterback had to say.
We had that situation there. Possibility to, for tackle short of the sticks, run the field goal unit on and be able to kick the field goal with the running clock. We had enough time on the clock that we say we have enough time to get that off. Obviously, we'd like to get the first down and be able to spike it and stop the clock there, but weren't able to execute it.
So the evaluation then coming out of that is not that you should have just thrown that out of bounds instead of trying to run there?
Well, it's a tricky situation because it's 3rd and 1. If it's 3rd and 7 or 8, then it makes it a little more clear. You're not going to be able to run and get the first down there. Being 3rd and 1, kind of had some quick pressure, was able to get up through the pocket in a muddy pocket. Thought I was going to be able to get it with my legs and just came up short.
So it's a pretty decent explanation for why Ryan Tannehill chose to run instead of throw it away on 3rd and 1. And you understood what he was looking for. I thought it was a decent defense of what happened, even if, the result was kind of bad. Well, not kind of bad. I mean, it was the difference between an extra 3 points as time expired in a game where they didn't score again in the second half. And they have not scored in the second half since the first week of the season. Now 3 straight games without points in the second half. It's a problem. What we're going to talk about when it comes to Ryan Tannehill next, though, is how he's kind of describing these first half gains and second half woes. You'll hear from the starting quarterback coming up next. PhD weight loss will get you to your fitness goals. And it's not just about meeting your fitness goals and your weight goals, but maintaining once you get the weight off. It's a very thorough program that both Ramon Foster and myself are going through. You guys know that we're going to document it with you. 200 by Super Bowl is my goal. We were 217 flat as of this morning. That's down about 30 pounds since we started to lose the weight. And it's been a very rewarding process. Not just because it's helping me meet my goals, but because it does a lot of the work for you. They're going to put together your meal plan with a schedule to help you understand how it is that you're going to maximize your ability to drop the weight. In fact, I just enjoyed some salted caramel protein crisps from PhD Weight Loss that are really, really effective in keeping my snacking habits at bay. For more information, go to My PhD Weight Loss.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Yes, indeed. Not sure what Ryan Tannehill is powered by, but certainly they need a little juice, a little extra juice from the first half to the second. To hear the quarterback tell it, just need to be a more consistent football team, and that's all well and good, because these highs and lows, these peaks and valleys, it's not a sustainable way to exist. And yet, they've won 2 straight, and they have, theoretically, an inferior opponent that they're getting ready to travel on the road and take on in the Washington Commander-Skins football team. So we will see how that matchup breaks down. We'll talk about it with Dave McGinnis tomorrow at some length. But in the meantime, I want you to hear from Ryan Tannehill about what his perspective on first half to second half in these Titans games are, because it may differ from yours and mine.
Yeah, we had some things we got to get cleaned up in that second half. You know, some of it execution, missed some opportunities, across the board. So, some of it was myself, some of it was other guys, but we can't have this sprinkled mistakes, a mistake here, a mistake here, a mistake here. When you add them up, then now we have 3 drives that were stopped because of mistakes. Have to be able to play cleaner football, and if we do that, we'll have success.
Why is it that those mistakes?
So that's Ryan Tannehill. What happened? You just didn't want to hear the follow-up to Sam's question?
To be honest, I just forgot to cut that off, I guess.
Thanks. That's Ryan Tannehill. Now, there's not much there, right? He's saying, yeah, we've made mistakes on touchdown drives before. It's just, the end results end up being a touchdown. And, yeah, that's fine. Like, I get it. Not every drive is created equal. Not every drive is perfect. But there is no disputing that whatever is bogging them down, whatever combination of things is bogging them down from first half to second half, is a legitimate, consistent theme. So Greg Cosell and I were talking about the offense yesterday. And, to hear Greg tell it, he's kind of surprised, or he felt surprised that people were having as strong a reaction to the Titans on offense as they were this season. And I'll let Greg explain it in his own words.
I think overall, and again, I'm sure people listening, particularly people in Nashville, people who are Titans fans, will know what I mean when I say they play Titans football. This is a team that lives with Derrick Henry as their foundational player. They don't play a lot of snaps out of 11 personnel, meaning 3 wide, relative to the rest of the league. In fact, I think through 4 games, they've played about 50% of their snaps out of 11 personnel, the other 50% out of what we would call base personnel, which encompasses a number of different personnel packages, but for intents and purposes, it's base personnel. So, this is the way they play. So what they try to do within that context is obviously run Henry and then create a pass play here and there through what they are. Like I thought last week we spoke about the Woods 41-yarder, I believe it was, and that came off play action and a really nice concept. This week, the play that was a different kind of play, but similar in how it came about, was the Akwankwo 23-yarder on their second possession. He was the weak eye fullback on that play, and they put the linebacker Franklin in conflict because they ran lead action right at him, and he has a run responsibility first because he's a linebacker as a second-level defender. So he sees run, steps up, loses Okonkwo for a moment, and then he runs by him on, whether you want to call it a wheel or a rail. It's not really a wheel, and it's a 23-yard gain. That's kind of what they do on offense. They're not, the issue for them is they don't have big plays to compensate for things. So you talk about the second half of games. There's a lot of teams that when they get leads, they don't necessarily push it. Obviously, there are teams that do push it, the Chiefs, the Bills. There are teams that do push it all game no matter what. Obviously, the Titans, they're not that team. But if you can make or create or manufacture or orchestrate a big pass play somewhere along the line, even while you're not trying to be aggressive, it makes your offense look a lot better. They don't do that. So therefore, their offense kind of has the feeling of being stalled. And then you get into individual plays like we discussed last week. If it's a 3rd down and 3 play and you don't get it, oh my God, the offense, they stink, because they have nothing to fall back on, nothing to compensate for the fact that, they don't make certain plays. So, that's where I think they, and maybe it's a philosophy thing. And if your defense is playing well, and we're going to get to the defense momentarily because their defense is good with a lot of new pieces this week that played well. If your defense is good and you're playing against an offense that has some clear flaws, maybe you feel like, hey, let's just do what we do and let the game play out.
And that's, it has to be a philosophical thing, Greg, because that's what they've always done. And so, when people gripe about how things look over the course of time, it's not like they're watching a much different product than they have the last 4 years with this core group of players and this coaching staff. To your point, they play Titans football.
And when you miss a play for whatever reason, it becomes magnified. Like when Burks was wide open on 3rd and 7, just outside the red zone in the second quarter with a beautifully designed 2-man concept to the field with a switch release and a natural rub element. Burks is open on the wheel, and Tannehill has to throw it just a beat early because the blitzing linebacker Franklin beats the block of Hilliard. So there's an example where if he hits him right in stride, it's probably a walk-in touchdown. And we may be having a different conversation, but when you don't do those kinds of things conceptually, often, Buck, what happens is one play becomes magnified or 2 plays become magnified, and it makes it seem like you just don't have much of an offense.
Yeah, their margin for error is thinner than most teams for exactly that reason, it feels like.
And look, the reality is they won the game, and anything that you can say now, although good coaching staffs and smart coaches, understand what you can do, what you have to do better, but you can't live in this league with your quarterback completing 17 balls for 137 yards.
That's Greg Cosell's analysis of the Titans on offense. That's courtesy of The Install with Greg Cosell, the podcast that Greg and I do every Wednesday, the newest one available in your favorite podcast feed. Does that not sound like a pretty damning assessment of what they're doing? Wholesale. You can't win, or what did he say? You can't survive in this league with your quarterback completing 17 passes for 137 yards, even if he scores the 2 touchdowns.
Is that more of an indictment on the Titans' offensive philosophy or on the personnel that they've plugged in to execute that philosophy?
Yes. Both of those things are true. I think one is a direct result of the other. I think their philosophy is catered towards their personnel, and their personnel right now is not good enough to execute on the whole their philosophy, right? Because it's Ryan Tannehill needs a fraction of a second, not even a fraction of a second, to get that pass off to Treylon Burks for a walk-in touchdown, as Greg said. Hilliard gets blown up on the play, but by the way, so does Dennis Daly. Like their margin for error on these big shot plays that they take when they're running the ball on 1st and 10 and 2nd and 7 and whatever the case may be, like it's 3rd and 7, and now you need a shot play, and you've got Treylon Burks streaking wide open. You've got the right concept. You've got the right look. Treylon Burks is behind the secondary. Oh, no, your pass pro can't hold up, and it's an incompletion as opposed to an easy touchdown pass that would have put them up by an additional score. So it's multi-layered, as I've said. There's a lot of things that they do philosophically that don't really jive with the rest of the league. Greg brought up the Bills and the Chiefs. What did he say? Teams that push it. What the hell? What the hell makes the Titans think that they shouldn't be a team that pushes it? It's kind of like I know the Rams won, or rather the Niners won handily against the Rams on Monday Night Football. But there was a 4th and goal situation where Kyle Shanahan opted for a field goal. He was up, but opted for a field goal to go up 6, I believe, as opposed to going for the score, which would have effectively ended the game. And, people get into a fight about what the numbers say versus gut instincts and take the points, and you're in a defensive struggle. Trust your defense enough, which, by the way, is something that Mike Vrabel defaults to. But it's one of these things where Kyle Shanahan is, as a coach, thought of so highly in so many different areas, and yet there is that conservatism to him that I think hinders them from being one of these teams that puts their foot on the gas more. I don't know if that's Mike's not what I would describe as conservative. I think some of the fourth down, go for it on fourth down situations have been brought into question, but I think if you have enough of them, a handful are going to be scrutinized as being the right or wrong decision.
It's just a lot less of an analytical approach than you're seeing take over a bunch of different spots in the league.
Are you talking about the Titans?
Yeah. Right?
Well, so this is the first year that they've had somebody with analytics in their title on the staff. And I still don't know who that person is. It's, a fraction of the size of what the Ravens do or, what even bad teams like the Jags do and things like that. But for the purposes of the Titans, Stretch is Mike's guy in that spot. Stretch is his assistant, John Stryker. You heard Kalen Kaler, for those of you who were listening to the show on the Monday, the day of before the Buffalo game. Kalen Kaler describing the penalty or the officiating meetings that Stretch leads because he is responsible for getting that scouting report or being a part of that primary scouting report of the officials and how they call certain games as crews for the staff, for the players to then make that presentation on Fridays. So Stretch is Mike's guy in that spot, and maybe Stretch is the guy with the analytics now in his title. Does not necessarily, you don't need some kind of supercomputer back there making all your decisions, and you don't have to be John Harbaugh where all it takes is a look from Lamar Jackson and you're like, all right, we're going for it. Although sometimes that works for your players. Mike does it in spots, and at other times you kind of look at it and say, okay, but you're aggressive on these fourth downs, but you're playing so many third downs because of your conservative style of play, your philosophical approach that's leading you to play more third downs than a lot of other teams have to because the Chiefs and Bills are converting on first and second down and staying out of third downs entirely.
So they don't get demolished, like the Auburn guy said.
Well, there is that. But, fair or foul? Let's play an A to Z game. Fair or foul? The Titans' offense is not a professional NFL offense right now.
What do you mean? It is a professional NFL offense because it's an offense of a professional NFL team.
Okay.
What I
mean is they are capable of competing with the other teams that they are considered to be in a similar class of.
Are they capable of winning games by outscoring teams right now?
Can they play modern NFL offenses as currently constructed?
No, because they don't. Because they kind of choose not to, but they win games in that way.
They win games because the defense in a big spot gets 3 turnovers and allows the offense the opportunity to close the game out without scoring.
Andrew in the Zone TV chat says, #1 seed last year with this play style. Back-to-back AFC South titles. AFC Championship appearance in 2019. Seems like we're surviving with this play style.
It's not about surviving. It's about winning. Yeah, they had the 19 run. To their credit, they had the 19 run. I'm not looking to take away that AFC Championship game appearance from them. But when things got out of hand, they do not play a style of football that allows them to keep up with Patrick Mahomes, who can come back down any margin at any time because he's one of the greatest quarterbacks that we have seen play this sport. Josh Allen doesn't need a running game. He's just physically flying over the top of linebackers and defensive linemen, and at some point that's going to cause him bodily harm, but he's big as hell and he can do that. Like, they don't have that element of it beyond Derek, and Derek is dependent on other things around him. My contention with the Titans is that they are not meaningfully competitive offensively with the style of football that they play. They will bleep around and win a couple of games. And they'll, last year they did the impossible. It was, by any metric, impossible what they did. More credit and more power to them, truly. Because everybody looks at them and says, oh, they have no business doing these things. And you're damn right they don't. At some point, it has to change. But my question about how the Titans are currently constructed and the philosophical approach with which they have taken with this roster is, have we seen the best of it already? Was the best run that they had or that they have in them as currently constructed 19 against the Patriots, against the Ravens, and then getting up 10-0 on the Chiefs and then losing that game because you let it get out of hand and you can't keep up that way? that when you hear people talk about them not being meaningfully competitive, that's what they mean. Are we actually talking about this team as somebody who can compete for a Super Bowl? Are they going to putter around, maybe win the AFC South again by nature of a Trevor Lawrence implosion here or there, and then get snuffed by the Bills or the Chiefs or, whoever, the Ravens, whatever, AFC contender, true contender, X, Y, or Z?
I get your sentiment when you talk about, but can they outscore Patrick Mahomes? But that falls on deaf ears when the defense took everything away from the Chiefs offense last year and held them to 3 points in a blowout win.
Now, that's true. That's absolutely so.
They still play defense, and that's a massive part of this team's identity.
It was a different version of and listen, this is why the NFL season is fascinating, especially with the addition of a 17th game. The Chiefs offense that the Titans saw early on in that season, in the first half of that season, was not the same Chiefs offense that beat Josh Allen in a big spot in the divisional round where there's no stopping either team, and it's just about, okay, I'm going to outgun you. Now, Buffalo did not have the pass rush that Tennessee did. Tennessee had one of the most effective pass rushes in football last year. That's not the case anymore. So now it's not just about, okay, can you survive? I no longer care about, I do care about survival, because, I need a competitive NFL football season to talk about. Otherwise, the ratings are going to be terrible, and I don't want that. But what I do look at as the next step for them is, okay, enough of surviving, enough of competing, win it. And I don't want to default to lazy sports talk radio, because I do think it can be a lazy argument. Well, you're not for real if you don't win anything at the end. Because, of course, there's a million different factors that go into a team that makes the Super Bowl. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo is in the Super Bowl if Jaquiski Tartt catches a chest pass from Matt Stafford.
What did they do last year if not survive on their way to a 1 seed with a chance to make a playoff run?
Yeah, last year felt different, and this year does feel the same in terms of the injury trajectory that they're on, that survival element of it.
Surviving is winning.
Surviving is winning in the regular season. Surviving is winning in the regular season, but once it becomes single elimination, this is a different kind of, you can't play these games 19-16 and expect to win. You can't. You simply can't. You cannot sack Joe Burrow 9 times. Not everything defaults to the Bengals game, but it's the most recent example that we have. And we're not anywhere close to the postseason yet, so maybe they're not a finished product. But look me in the eyes and tell me that you expect them to meaningfully change on offense between now and January. How could you possibly make that case?
But they can improve. That's where people are looking for.
Where?
By getting healthier, by having...
on offense?
Yes, by having Treylon Burks 9 games into his rookie season and not 4 games into his rookie season.
It's an unanswerable question right now.
Nobody's looking for a philosophical change in the offense come season's end.
Well, I've been actively agitating for a philosophical change to the offense for the last 3 seasons.
Well, nobody's expecting that, is what I'm saying.
No, they shouldn't, because it's clearly something they're not interested in doing. But I have to think that Mike is not just pretend to be smarter than you guys. Mike is pretty damn smart. I have to think that he and a lot of smart coaches in that building are looking around and saying, yeah, we can't continue to just gut these out this way, even if his message after the fact is, hey, share your success, celebrate a win on the road, understand how difficult it is to do, now turn around and do it again. That's what he has to do. That's the position that he's in. That's the approach that he has to take.
But I feel like there's this picture of Super Bowl winning teams that they get to the Super Bowl putting up 35 points a game along the way. Like the Super Bowl was a 23-20 final. The Bengals scored 26, 19, 27, and 20 points in their postseason run last year.
It's about as much who they have to get through.
So surviving.
Winning, meaningful winning, and doing it in a way that is going to keep an opponent on their heels. The Titans do not do that. They objectively keep they keep themselves on their heels in the second half.
They find a way, right? That's what they've been the entirety of the Vrabel tenure.
They find a way to survive, and at some point I expect, and the expectation should be, remember the calls we got? You sound like that guy that called a couple of weeks ago and said, are our expectations for the Titans too high? No, damn it. They should not just be surviving. Win and do it meaningfully. That's the whole contention. It is the lamest of sports talk radio arguments, but it's the thing that I default to, especially in a time where their identity is as a big a question as ever it was through any point in the Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill era of Titans football. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. Last call for phone calls, some polls, a fast-moving show. Wrap it up next. Got some numbers here from Braden Gall on the Titans TV ratings through the first 4 games. So in the Nashville market, and I wonder what you make of this. It may, I mean, there's some correlation here, but I'm not entirely sure what to attribute it to. So this is what he writes. The Titans TV ratings for Nashville have plummeted 32.1% in 2022. All 4 games this year would have been the lowest rated game of the last season. 23.4 against the Giants, 17.6 against the Bills, 22.3 against the Raiders. The Colts game, 18.1. Like, what else are people doing on a Sunday here in Nashville other than watching Titans and Colts? What is that? Does that say anything to you? Like, I don't know. I'm not fishing for answers here. I honestly don't know what to make of that. I mean, I guess the allure of AJ and Julio and Derek and marquee names and star power and potential for flash kind of, I think there was a quantifiable boost in the interest, and you could call it fair weather, you can call it bandwagon, whatever. But like down 32.1%, that's a big number.
I'd be interested to see in the 2018, 19, 20 numbers and putting that next to it.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about last season down 32.1%. And they were, theoretically, they're a better football team than they were last year, although I guess it had some dispute. Let's go to Eric in South Carolina first. What's up, stud? Hey, Eric.
Okay, so Lucas, I need you to talk to Buck for me because Buck is tripping. Does he understand that offense is only 33% of the team? Therefore, 66% of the team is defense and special teams. If defense and special teams are doing that magical thing we call complementary football, and they're doing their part, setting up the offense on short fields, giving the offense good field position, this is an efficient offense. It doesn't have to be Mahomes explosive, Josh Allen explosive, but if this is and
all right, your phone line is not great, Eric, but I do appreciate the call. Your point is well taken. I mean, it doesn't have to be explosive like the Bills or the Chiefs to be able to compete with the Bills or the Chiefs. I don't understand that logic. I get what he's saying, complimentary football and all that, but in today's NFL, no, there should be a higher weight attributed, a higher percentage attributed to the offensive side of the football. The entire AFC just spent their whole offseason loading up on the offensive side of the football, and the Titans doubled down. They went counterculture again. And that's fine. Like, if you're going to pay anybody, as opposed to going out and paying A.J. Brown or getting one of these crazy wide receivers like Tyreek or Devontae Adams, doesn't necessarily always work out, but there is a quantifiable effect without A.J. Brown. We talked about the yards after catch. Their greatest source of yards after catch is the 2 running backs. And one of the running backs is not a natural catcher of the football. It's not sustainable. I understand the point that many of you are making or the argument that many of you want to make against me, which is that it's not about style points in the NFL. And you would be right. The Titans' record with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel in the regular season is not for dispute. They have enjoyed more success with that combination and, obviously the defensive elements associated with that as well. They've enjoyed more success on that level than very few, if any, stretches of Titans football that a lot of us can remember. I mean, even going back to the Jeff Fisher stuff, Mike wins at a higher rate, and I think is a plus on the sidelines in a way that Jeff was for a while, but not as things continued to evolve and the longer that he stayed in the league. It just didn't work that way. Now, Mike Vrabel is only 5 years in, and this is his first NFL head coaching job. But it's the thing that kind of, it's not about the style points, but the rest of the NFL just paid a bunch of money for style points. Terrence in Nashville is next.
Yeah, so 2 things I wanted to say. So as far as the style of the offense and if that's sustainable or not, I think it is because, the Titans, for one, the Titans play more of like a hard-nosed type of game, and they're very transparent about what they're going to do. We're going to run it. We're going to do play action, and you can't stop us. And, it's worked as long as Mike Vrabel's been in there, and still nobody has consistently been able to stop it. And then too, the conversation this week has been mostly about how the Titans go flat in the second half, and I think that's just who they are. It's not just this year. That's who they are. Like, can anybody remember what happened last year when they played Kansas City?
Well, they didn't. Right? They shut it down. They were up like 27-3, and they just said, "Run, Derek, we'll bleed them."
Right. I mean, that's the same thing they did this week. And can anybody remember what happened Sunday Night Football last year against the Rams?
No, it's a little different. I understand what you're saying, Terrence, but it's different. Like 27-3 is different than a one-score game against the Indianapolis Colts. Like that does not. It's not the same situation. And at least then they were not. I mean, you've never seen anything like 64-7 and first to 32nd in EPA from one half to the next. There's not a precedent for that, even as you may think them, conservative in the second half of games, because that's how they're built to play. Anyway, you gonna do some polls?
Hello, my name is Borat. There is a show in America called Buck Rising. I like very much. As a man named Lucas, like my producer, Azam Atbagatov, will update something called Final Pollings. I'm very excited, very excited. Do it, Lucas. La, 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 la.
Polls are presented by Two Rivers Ford. You can custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They deliver it straight to you as soon as it is manufactured. What is the Titans' ceiling in 2022? 53% majority say an AFC South title. 20% say a deep playoff run. 18% a wild card berth. 9% say get over 500. With the state of the AFC South, I feel like wild card berth should be at the bottom of that list.
Yeah, wild card is a tough spot. Given what the AFC South is, I think they are good enough to compete in the AFC South. I think they're good enough to win the AFC South, given how mediocre the rest of the AFC South appears to be. But I also lump them in as a part of this mediocre middle class of the NFL. Until such time as they prove otherwise.
Is an NFL workplace supposed to be fun? 68% say no.
I don't think so. Not all the time. Winning is supposed to be fun. The workplace itself, the day-to-day, the meeting rooms, the training, the strength and conditioning, the agility test, like none of that seems fun to me.
Do the Colts have a shot to win in Denver tonight without Jonathan Taylor? 65% say no.
Ooh. Without Jonathan Taylor, watch, they'll win the game. I don't know, man. There's no reason the Colts should win this game. They're at Denver. They're without Shaq Leonard and Jonathan Taylor. Their offensive line is still terrible, and I think the Broncos do have a decent rush to keep them at bay. And, whatever Russell Wilson's problems are on offense this year, it's not as bad as Matt Ryan. I think the Broncos have to win that game.
Does Auburn have a shot in hell to demolish Georgia this week like center Brandon Council said they would if they can keep the Georgia defense out of their third down packages? 91% say no.
Yeah, I'm with the 91%.
And do you enjoy it when Buck bulldozes me during my top of the hour updates? Yes, had an early lead, but a late push by no gives it the edge. 51% say no.
I'm still going to do it. I don't care. This is not a democracy.
Goody says we watch because we enjoy Lucas actively attempting to steal your job. Buck, you're right. This is not a democracy. One person controls the mics. And Danny says Lucas is a gentleman, and it defies credulity how he tolerates your megalomania. My goodness. The words from Danny, an astute observation. Those are the polls.
What's megalomania? Can you give me an Urban Dictionary reading before the show ends of megalomania? Because I assume it has something to do with inflated ego. Which
yeah, is that what you think it means?
I can absolutely. Well, I think that's what it means, right? I would assume there's some kind of narcissism involved.
A psychopathological disorder resulting from delusions of magnificence, grandeur, or omnipotent power, usually but not limited in the interests of money or other wealth.
Literally every part of that checks out. That's me. You nailed it.
Is that hit home for you?
Oh, yeah, no. It's, save me the time in therapy.
15 grand, not a lot of money?
I'm still good with it. What, you need it? I'll let you hold something.
Could always use it.
That's the show. Check out the podcast. Jeff Simmons was great. Coach Mac tomorrow will wrap up the football week or get you ready for another one tomorrow at 10. See you guys.